I don't like the taste of healthy foods becomes nothing tastes as good as being healthy and disease-free feels. Okay. So we're going to start with essential number 2 next, because you guys are all max-minded out. So finish up your empowering beliefs. If you've got more than one disempowering belief, then take that time at home and really make it a Sunday event with the family. You know, like, because it's not just about you in a relationship. You guys get that, right? I have a hard time still with that concept, but it's not just about the individual. Like, in order for, if you want to have love in a relationship, everyone say aye? Yes? Aye. Okay. So if you want to have let's say a loving relationship with your spouse, in order for there to be love within that relationship, you have to know how your spouse interprets love. Right? You've all heard of that, the different love languages. Yes. So, like, let's just say, in my relationship, you know, my wife could tell me, you know, I love you, you know, 1 billion times. You know, and she does, you know, I love you, I love you, I love you. But for me, you know, that's just kind of lip service. It's, you know, I mean, honestly, like, you know, like, I appreciate her for saying that, but, you know, it doesn't really get inside me and change my state as much as, because, you know, I'm a physical guy. I do this. So you come up to me and you give me a hug, though, and I'm like, oh, I'm loved. Look at that. And but that's my love language, right? So in terms of your kids and your family and getting an agreement in this thing, you have to know what they feel about their limiting beliefs and help them through theirs as well. Does that make sense? Teaching your children how to have empowering belief systems, how to understand just how powerful they are when it comes to their health is one of the most amazing things that you can give them. Because my kids understand that they can heal from the inside out, that they don't need drugs to be healthy. They wonder why their kids, their friends are on all these different medications all the time, and they're like, that's just crazy. They don't even think like that. Is that pretty cool? Because here's the thing. If you're constantly thinking, well, you know, if I don't feel good about this, or I don't feel good about that, because right now, we have actually about 17 million kids on psychotropic drugs. So if you're constantly being trained to think that if I don't feel good, that I can take something from the outside to make me better, then what happens when they're 19, 20, 21 years old and they get broken up with, or they fail the test that they wanted to pass? Well, I can just have that extra drink. I can just smoke that extra whatever, because that will give me pleasure from the outside. I can just eat that extra muffin, whatever it might be. So, why is your nervous system so critical when it comes to your health? It's the first system that develops in utero. I love this picture. This baby that's forming is only literally a couple of days old, and you can already see the beginnings of what forming? The spinal cord. The neural streak and the neural tube are the first things to develop in utero. From the time that you're a couple of days old, you start to form that. And off of that, your brain and your spinal cord form. And from there, every organ in your body grows. How cool is that? Every day, about 100 million cells out of 76 trillion die. And about 100 million new cells are born to replace them. They are made out of food, water, and air. Those are the materials, the raw materials, that make the body. But if I put the best food, water, and air inside of a dead body, would it be healthy? No. It would still be what? Dead. Because this is where the power comes from. This is the source of all healing. If you get a cut on your arm, if I came and just gave everyone a little paper cut, I came back 3 weeks later, they'd all be healed. What did the healing? Your brain recognized that there was a cut. Immediately set your immune system into action. Told your white blood cells to go there to stop an infection. Told the platelets to go there to stop the bleeding. Told your immune system to grow that skin back together using fibrogen. And it's amazing all the millions of things that happen because of that power. Making sure that nothing is interfering with that power has to be, when it comes to your health, the first thing. Because it is the first thing and the only thing that heals your body, primarily. And so, what are the different ways that you can interfere with the nervous system? Okay. love math? Okay. The purpose of your nervous system is to adapt your body to its environment, internally and externally. Constantly taking hundreds of millions of signals that are going on through your 5 senses and also inside. And your brain's job is to take all of that junk and adapt it. Adapt your body to its environment. But if you have more stress than the system can handle, then you're sick. Does that make sense? So it's about the amount of physical stress, chemical stress, and emotional stress all together on your nervous system. If your nervous system is capable of adapting to all the stress you're putting on it, you're doing great, even if you feel bad. Does that make sense? Because symptoms aren't sickness. Symptoms are your body giving you signals that it's under a lot of stress. Like if I'm carrying a bowling ball out here, at some point before I hit the floor, I'm going to start complaining about it. I'm like, oh, I can't hold it anymore. I'm gonna. Does that make sense? And so if you're getting things like headaches or back pain or gastrointestinal distress over and over again, that's not necessarily the sickness. That's your body trying to adapt and having a really hard time because it's under a lot of what? Stress. Okay. So here's some more stress. We'll talk about nutrition for a little bit. Sugar causes disease. Can't get more clear than that. The number one, in terms of volume thing that we do as Americans to stress ourselves out from a chemical standpoint, is sugar. It decreases the function of your immune system almost immediately. If you put a half a teaspoon of sugar directly into your blood system, you'd be dead. So your body, under that much stress, has to take that pancreas and start pumping all the insulin it possibly can to take that sugar out and put it as glycogen stores into your body. Now, this all started happening in the 70s, early 80s with the no-fat, low-fat diet craze. Right? What happened since then? We got so much fatter. If you look at the Center for Disease Control's website, they have a cool infographic on how much weight we've gained. It goes year after year after year after year, showing how dramatically obesity has changed. So a calorie is not a calorie is not a calorie. We have to understand that if you have 150 calories, a handful of almonds, versus 150 calories, which is a Twinkie, that they are treated inside your body completely differently. And there's a lot of work on that. So you have to understand that it's about the nutrient density that you're putting into your foods. You want to look for the biggest superfoods that you possibly can for yourself and for your kids. We use smoothie shakes for our kids very, very frequently. A, because they're quick, they're tasty. Our kids will, eat them. So whether it's the perfect protein shake, sometimes we use that in their little, you make pseudo pancakes in the morning with that. Or we have, my wife will make some fruit smoothies where they'll take organic blueberries, frozen stuff, and strawberries and other stuff, and then throw it in the blender with some ice. It's great. Whatever you can do just to put those really good nutrient-dense foods in the body. And not only is it in obviously in this candy, but it's also in ketchup and fruit juice and lunch meats and breads. So if your kids are made up of Wonder Bread, it's no wonder why they're sick. If you look at a Lunchable, like a Kraft Lunchable, how many ingredients are in there? Anybody want to take a random guess? It's about 123 different ingredients. And if you can pronounce all of them, I'm still holding my $1 million prize here. $1 million for anyone who can pronounce all of those 123 things properly, because I can't. So there's. But how many ingredients are there in an apple? 1. All right. So what you want to do is the first thing is remove as much sugar from your family's diet as you possibly can. Remember we talked about the number one thing that nicked and scratched the arteries that was increasing the cholesterol levels? What do you think that is now? Sugar. Okay. So we've done the thing before. You can look at, what's the website, guys, that shows you how many cubes of sugar are in each, there's a whole website. You punch in your food, and it just shows you literally a pyramid of how many cubes of sugar are in each thing. Right? And so if you eat McDonald's or Burger King, name 2 things that are not in a strawberry milkshake? Strawberries and milk. But there's 50-something other ingredients in there, and none of them are natural. All right? So no pink slime for your kids, please. Just because it's convenient doesn't mean that it's good. It's not convenient for your kid to have leukemia. Change bad fats to good fats. So we want to kind of move laterally on this one and just have a contrast between them, because I'm not telling you can't have fat. In fact, fat is one of the most important things you can put into your children's bodies. Why? Because what's growing so quickly in their first few years of life? Their brain, their nervous system. Not only that, but every cell membrane in your body is made up of what's called a bilipid membrane. That means two fats. In order for those fats to be healthy, you are what you eat at best. So they should be made up of good fats. But let's talk about bad fats first. Either fats that at one point were good, but that man has altered and made rancid, or fats that just were never good in the first place. Like margarine was never ever good. You guys know that, right? Margarine is one molecule away from plastic. No. All right? But things like canola oil or vegetable oil could have at once been a good fat. But because of all the genetic modification, because of the fact that these oils become rancid at very low temperatures, and when they're processing them, they heat them beyond that limitation, they become rancid, ugly, wasteful stuff that you don't want in your body. Canola, there actually is no such thing as a canola plant. It's made from the rapeseed, and canola means one of two things, either Canadian low acid or oil low acid, I think was one, or Canadian motor oil. I'm not sure which one of those things, but it's not good for you, okay? Yet, even at Whole Foods, you go there and all their prepared foods are still made with canola oil, and it annoys me because they could just change that over to either a coconut oil or a grapeseed oil, and it would be so much better for you and not more expensive, really. Vegetable oils, again, become rancid at low temperatures. So just replace these oils for your family's health with some of these. Now, I rarely have a meal without fat in it. Like in my shake in the morning, avocado goes in there, chia seeds and flax seeds go in there. I will put the amasi, which is also a really good healthy fat, in there. So I'm a fat-based person. I love to eat lots of good fats, because one of the best things about fat, just for someone who likes to eat a lot, is that fat satiates your sensation in your brain. It tells you that you're full. So fat is a thing. You ever eat like Chinese food and you're hungry, again like 15 minutes later? Well, first of all, that's toxins and MSG and other things there, excitotoxins. But secondly, if you're eating a lot of carbs, it fills you up, but then shortly thereafter, you're hungry again because you didn't satiate your brain. So again, good fats do that. You can get a lot of bang for your buck when it comes to, but extra virgin olive oil, eat it raw on salads, that sort of thing. Don't cook with it, because at 150 degrees, it becomes rancid too. Avocado is great. Eat one every day. Coconut oil, it's the highest temperature oil that you can use. Butter has been demonized, but it's one of the best things you can put into your body. It's got arachidonic acid, alpha-lipoic acid, some really good things that your brain needs. So it's really great for the brain. If you're going to eat meat, wonderful, but just eat grass-fed meat. Okay? Meat was never supposed to, or I shouldn't say meat, cows were never supposed to eat grains. And you aren't what you eat, you are what they ate. Does that make sense? So if they ate corn their whole lives that were sprayed with pesticides, and then they were kept in conditions like this their whole lives, fed antibiotics so they can keep them alive to slaughter, given hormones to make them bigger so they can get more meat out of it, then if they're sick and you're eating sick meat, and then they take them to slaughter and they kill them in an inhumane way, where but they know they're about to die before they die, so because they cut they put a thing into their brain, and so what happens to them? All of their chemistry inside of them becomes sick and rancid. All the cortisol inside their body, the fight or flight thing goes off, and now you're eating sick meat. Well, no wonder that's triggering your cholesterol to go up. Because if you're eating something that's inflammatory, your body will do what it can to reduce that inflammation. So if you're going to eat meat, eat it the way that nature allowed us to eat it in the first place, which is, what is a cow supposed to eat? Grass, okay, and greens. All right. So here's how even ants know better than us. Here's butter. Here's margarine. Except for the stupid ants. There's like one. There's one over here because he hasn't figured it out yet, and there's 2 or 3 over here, but they're dead, literally. And the rest of them are like, oh, good, butter. So which says 2 things. One, if you go to a picnic, bring some extra margarine for the ants. Or actually, no, they won't eat it anyway. But just make sure that if an insect won't eat it, why would you? Again, here's the conditions in the commercial feeding process versus this rather sad-looking cow over here going. But at least he's in the right environment. Maybe he was photoshopped in there. I'm not sure. All right. So exercise. Really, anybody have any questions on nutrition for your kids? So what are the 2 things that I want you to do right away? Get rid of sugar and increase your fat. Okay. So I want you to be a fat burner in your family, not a sugar burner. Okay. You will avoid a lot of hormonal problems that way. You will have less depression that way. Increasing your fats has actually been linked to less depression. And also, if you're going to use things like vitamin D, which has been shown to reduce depression as well, then what's one of the other things you need? Since the fat-soluble vitamin, you need what? Fat to absorb it. Okay? So, anyway. Number 3 there, exercise optimizes learning. It's actually been shown that when it comes to depression, when it comes to attention deficit, when it comes to a lot of brain issues, that exercise has been just as valuable as any medication on the market. So another thing that it does is called neurogenesis. It promotes new dendritic connections and plasticity in the brain and the body. So it helps to grow a healthier nerve system, a healthier cellular system. You can absorb and assimilate oxygen better. So exercise is critical for everyone. It's not just for people who want to have big muscles. This is something that everyone needs to do. You need to get up and move and have a plan. Because again, when I was a kid, it was called playing. Right? And so if you're not going to play hard, then you've got to plan your playing hard. And exercise doesn't have to be going to the gym. Personally, I find going and doing bicep curls boring. That for me is I don't really want to do that. But I found a kind of exercise, whether it's the Max T3 or a CrossFit or whatever it might be, where you can do things and actually really enjoy the process because you're using your whole body in different activities. If you like to bike ride or swim or go for a walk, but just do it in a way that's going to get your whole body moving. Does that make sense? Okay. And do it consistently. So what's the big takeaway there? Exercise promotes the growth of new nerve cells. It increases oxygen distribution to the body and nutrients. Because if you're eating good foods, but you're not moving, then what's happening to the blood? It's all sluggish and sitting there. It's not getting to every part of your body that you need it to. So the life is in the blood. We want to make sure that all the micronutrients that you're putting in your body are now making it through the circulation. Again, exercise relieves depression. There's plenty of research on this, but basically what it just says is that more people did well with exercise than with antidepressant medications. How many of you know somebody who's on antidepressants? I mean, usually it's about 3/4 of the room. And if you were to show them how to do high-intensity, low-exercise burst training, if you were to find out if they had pressure on their brainstem, and if they were making sure that their vitamin D levels were normal, and reducing their sugar and increasing their good fats, what are the chances that you can have an improvement in their depression? Hugely significant. And if you could do some max mind work on them, because one of the biggest things in order to be depressed, you have to do depression. And I'm saying this from a physiological standpoint. So, do me a favor. Think something really sad, just for a moment. And then get your body physiologically into a depressed position. Well, how would you stand if you wanted to be depressed right now? How would you breathe? Would you breathe deep or shallow? Shallow. Would your head be up or would your head be down? Yeah. So we all know this innately. We all know how we can get depressed. Yet if you took somebody who is claiming depression and doing depression over and over again, if you do depression over and over again, if I did this all the time, do you think that I could pretty quickly get into a depressed state? I would know exactly how to get there. But if I took that person, like Stanford did, and I had them instead walk around like this with a big smile on their face, and you just fake it. I mean, I could be thinking this, So right now I'm thinking about think about something amazing in your life that's ever happened to you. Some success that you've had, something you've experienced, some new love, whatever it might have been, some test that you got a good grade on, whatever it was, things have been great, and then walk around with a big smile on your face, take a deep breath in, jump up and down. And at Stanford, they did this, and they had people exercise for about 30 minutes a day for 6 days a week. And people who were mild to moderately depressed were no longer depressed. In fact, almost all of the case studies that they did over and over again. Okay? And that's the second most commonly used medication in this country. You know what the first is? Cholesterol. And you know what one of the side effects of cholesterol medications is? Depression. All right. So another thing is the people who were exercising were actually getting healthier versus the medication group who were getting sicker because they didn't have any desire to move. So memory and exercise, again, things that are getting much, much worse these days are dementia, Alzheimer's, senility, even other adult diseases are getting worse and worse too. But one of the things that you can understand about this is that exercise reduces your chance of that. So if you have any desire, now, again, my grandfather and uncle, both Alzheimer's victims, I refuse to go there, so I'm particular about my toxicity levels. I think, honestly, one of the worst ways to die is to start forgetting everything in your life and all the people around you. And so that is like sort of, for me, that would be hell on earth. So I refuse to go there, which is why my 5 essentials are. That's one of my things over here. Like, this is a pain. Alzheimer's right here. You okay, Gavin?
Yes, he's fine.
Okay, I will check him after. All right. And so, and again, how many of us think about like little bumps and bruises? How many kids are having like little bumps and bruises every day? And exactly. I was one of those rough and tumble kids. Probably had hundreds, if not thousands, of things happening before I ever got checked at the age of 16 for subluxations. And thank God that I did. And the only reason that I got checked is because I was a really bad wrestler. And someone took me and flipped me on top of my head and ended up getting headaches. But if it wasn't for that one huge trauma, all the other things that happened to me, I was subluxated like crazy for the years before that. Talk about toxicity for a second. So we got 4 billion prescription drugs ingested in the U.S. right now. 70,000 chemicals are used commercially, and that just is polluting our water and our air. And there's actually 3,500 chemicals or more that are added to our food supply that do not need to be labeled. So if you're reading those labels and you're crazy about that, you're still even missing out on some stuff. So anyway, you want to do the best you possibly can. Where are most of those unnecessary